The day started just like any other for 28-year-old Evan Mitchell. He rolled out of bed in his small Denver apartment, poured a cup of coffee, and scrolled through the news on his phone. The world always seemed so loud in messy politics, accidents, storms, but inside his apartment, things were quiet, too quiet. It had been 2 years since the accident that took his younger sister. Lily, she was only 20, driving home from college when a drunk driver ran a red light. Since that day, something inside Evan had gone silent. He worked as a mechanic, came home, ate dinner alone, and stared at the photo of Lily on the fridge, her wide smile frozen in time. That morning, as he walked past the community bulletin board near the coffee shop, a bright red poster caught his eye. Blood drive today. Save a life. Evan hesitated. Needles weren't really his thing. But those words, save a life, stayed with him. He thought about Lily, about how no amount of blood could have saved her that night. And maybe that's why he turned around and walked toward the white tent set up in the church parking lot. The nurse greeted him with a practiced smile. First time donating? He just nodded, rolling up his sleeve. She checked his pulse and said gently, "You're doing a good thing today. You never know whose life you might touch." He gave a faint smile, unsure what to say. The process was quick, just a few minutes. Afterward, he drank the little cup of orange juice they gave him and watched people come and go, young, old, some smiling, some nervous. When he stepped back outside, the sunlight hit his face, and for a moment, he felt lighter. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe his pint of blood would just get mixed in some hospital refrigerator and forgotten. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he'd done something good. Weeks passed. Life went back to its quiet rhythm work, silence, memories. Then one afternoon, coming home, he noticed a letter in his mailbox. It wasn't a bill or a flyer. It had a hospital logo and his name handwritten on the envelope. He opened it slowly. It read, "Dear Mr. Mitchell, we wanted to let you know that your recent blood donation directly helped save the life of a patient, a young woman in critical condition. While we can't disclose her identity, we want you to know your gift made survival possible. On behalf of our staff and her family, thank you." Evan read the letter twice. For a long time, he just sat on the couch, staring at the words. Someone, somewhere, was alive because of him. A stranger's heartbeat continued, because he'd given something so small. For the first time in years, a warm tear rolled down his cheek, not from grief, but from something new. A few months later, his friend Mark convinced him to go to a volunteer event at that same hospital. "They're honoring donors," Mark said. "Come on, you could use a night out." Evan reluctantly agreed. The hospital lobby was decorated with white lights and a banner that said, "Celebrating the gift of life." Nurses mingled with donors. Patients who had received transfusions shared their stories. Evan stood near the back, listening quietly. Then the host stepped to the microphone. "Our next guest speaker is someone very special," she said. "A young woman whose life was saved just months ago thanks to a blood donor right here in Denver." The crowd clapped as a woman in her mid-20s stepped forward. She had soft brown hair and bright eyes, but she looked nervous, clutching the microphone. "Hi," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "My name's Claire. Earlier this year, I was in a car accident on I-70. I lost a lot of blood. And the doctors said if there hadn't been a matching donor that same week, I wouldn't be here right now." She paused, tears glistening in her eyes. "I don't know who that person is, but if they're here tonight, thank you. You didn't just save my life. You gave my family their daughter back. You gave me a second chance." The audience applauded, many wiping their eyes. Evan felt something inside him shift. His heart pounded. Could it be her? The timing, the accident, the hospital it, all lined up. After the event, as people mingled, Evan saw Claire standing alone by the coffee table. He walked over. "That was a powerful story," he said softly. She smiled, wiping her cheek. "Thanks. It still feels unreal sometimes. I'm glad you're okay," he said. "Yeah, me too. They told me it was a rare blood match." "Oh, negative universal donor, right?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "That's me." Claire blinked, her lips parting. "Wait, are you saying?" Evan smiled faintly. "Dude, I donated at the drive near the church in March." The letter said, "My donation saved someone. I guess that someone might have been you." For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Claire covered her mouth as tears welled up again. She reached out, gripping his hand tightly. "I don't even know how to thank you," she whispered. "You just did," he said. They talked for hours that night. She told him about her accident, how she'd been driving home from a late shift at the bookstore when a truck sideswiped her. The doctors had almost given up hope. "They said the blood arrived just in time," she said. "It was like a miracle." Evan told her about Lily, how losing her had left him empty. Donating blood that day felt like a small way to honor her memory. Claire listened quietly. "Maybe," she said softly, "your sister sent you to me." They exchanged numbers. What started as gratitude turned into friendship, and then something deeper. They began meeting for coffee, hikes, and long drives through the Colorado mountains. Claire had a way of making Evan laugh again. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed the sound of it. One evening, months later, they visited Lily's grave together. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and pink. Claire placed a single white flower beside the stone. "I never met her," she said, "but I feel like I owe her to. 'Cause without her story, maybe you'd never have gone to that blood drive." Evan nodded, his eyes misting. "She'd have liked you," he said. Life didn't change overnight, but something inside Evan healed. He started volunteering regularly at the hospital, helping with donation drives and sharing his story. He found purpose in helping strangers, because once a stranger had helped him too, by giving him a reason to keep going. A year later, on a warm June afternoon, Evan sat on the same church steps where he'd once donated blood. Beside him, Claire held his hand, her engagement ring glinting in the sun. "Do you ever think about how crazy it is?" she asked with a smile. "How a bag of blood brought us together." Lee laughed gently. "Craziest thing that ever happened to me." She leaned against his shoulder. "Maybe it wasn't crazy. Maybe it was meant to be." He looked at her, remembering that lonely morning, the empty apartment, the photo on the fridge. Back then, he'd thought his story ended with loss. He hadn't known it was only just beginning. At their wedding, months later, the same nurse who'd drawn his blood sat in the front row, smiling through tears. During his vows, Evan said, "Sometimes life gives you no second chances, but sometimes it does through the kindness of strangers or the memory of someone you loved. I donated blood that day because I thought I had nothing left to give. Turns out I was giving my heart away to live again." Claire squeezed his hand, whispering, "You saved my life twice, once with your blood, and once with your love." Years passed, and every year on the anniversary of the blood drive, they both returned to donate together. Evan would smile at the new volunteers and say, "You never know whose story you're about to change." And somewhere, maybe another quiet soul, broken, hurting, or lost, would read those same words on a poster, walk into a tent, and unknowingly save a stranger who might one day save them right back. Because sometimes life doesn't end in tragedy. Sometimes it begins with a single act of kindness and a heartbeat shared between two strangers who were never meant to meet, yet somehow always meant to find each other. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that celebrates the good in the world. We'll see you next time.